Welcome to the Tecnica thermoforming process. We're going to be molding a pair of the Forge hiker boots today. This video is designed more so as an informal resource for industry professionals to try to visualize the process, but if you're a customer interested in what this process involves, this is certainly a valuable resource for you as well. We're going to start by opening the case and removing the inflatable bag portion. That is the chamber where the molding process is going to take place. Next are the wings, which are the heating element for the body of the boot, and the taco, which is the heating element for the heat moldable insoles. There are two plugs in here, so you want to make sure that you have a power strip or an outlet with two available outlets, one for the compressor and one for the element controller. Now go ahead and turn that on. You're going to notice it has an automatic setting for 8 minutes. So now go ahead and grab the insoles and insert those into the taco. You'll notice that the bottom portion is listed. You want to put the bottom of the insole on the outside of the taco where it is listed as bottom. Go ahead and secure that in there. Flip the toggle switch over to the insole portion and hit the heater button. It's going to start the 8-minute timer. And that's going to have a nice beep to the end of it so you can't miss it. But this is time to discuss the benefits of these boots with your customers. Now we fast forwarded through to the end. Those insoles are nice and heated. They are ready to go. So we are going to grab our ballet slippers. Those are gender specific, by the way, and size specific. So you want to make sure that you have the right slippers selected at the beginning of this process for the boots you're molding. You really want to take your time inserting these insoles into the slippers. There's some contrast stitching in there that needs to match up right with the edge of the insole on all sides, especially in the heel cup. So just press that insole in until it meets up with that stitching. That's going to ensure that the insole is on the proper part of the foot for where it's going to correspond to the boot, to make sure that you're molding to the proper part of the customer's foot. There's no need to rush here. Just make sure that you take your time and get that properly seated within those slippers. You also want to make sure that there is no wrinkling or buckling in the heel cup of the boot at this point. That is just going to be preserved once the molding process has taken place. So make sure that heel cup is nice and smooth, and then help your customers get their feet into the boots. You want to tell them at this point, we're going to be inflating those bags. It's going to be pressurized, and it may be a little uncomfortable. It's very important now to close the valves on both feet before you turn on the compressor. Get that spacer between the knees for a nice, generally neutral stance, and then go ahead and nice and tightly and securely harness them in. That is, once these boots start to inflate, you're going to notice the boots pushing up from below, and we want to make sure that those insoles have the correct amount of pressure. So go ahead and turn on that controller, set the mode until you see 3 zeros. That's going to give us a proper view. We're looking for 0.15 millibars. You can turn on that compressor, and again, you may have some customers who experience a little bit of discomfort at this point. There is a decent amount of pressure in there in order for the molding process to take place. If you do have anyone who is uncomfortable, just go ahead and stop that process. point out at this point that they will be able to feel their feet being lifted right up off of the ground by that pressure. That is what is pushing that insole against their foot and actually shaping the insole to the exact shape of their foot. Once you reach the 0.15 millibars, go ahead and shut off that compressor, grab your accessory timer. This is a 3-minute process. The heating takes 8 minutes and the molding takes 3. Once those bags are properly inflated and the insoles are underway being molded, you can go ahead and get a jump on the boot bodies. These wings, there's a left and a right. You're going to take those and insert them both in and around the shoe. There's an inner and an outer portion. So you want to take that inner portion and insert it into the boot body and nestle that snugly against the collar. You do want to get your hand down inside that boot and make sure that those inner wings are up against the side of the boot to get all of that foam thoroughly heated so that it will be effective in the molding process. And then nice and snug against that boot. And go ahead and repeat with the other one. Once those are on there, go ahead and toggle that switch over to the footwear heater and go ahead and start that. Now you've got both timers counting down. The insoles are being molded and the boots are being heated. Once that 3-minute timer reaches its end, you're going to want to go ahead and release the pressure on those bags. I recommend doing this before you release that Velcro harness. It's going to help you get a little bit more of that air out of the boots, out of the bags, sorry, a little bit faster. And just go ahead and really squeeze as much of that as you can out. It's going to help you in a minute when you have to get the entire boots into those bags. You're going to help your customer remove their feet from the bags and go ahead and check those insoles. Make sure there is no buckling in the heel cup and that we have a good mold. These ballet slippers, you want to keep organized. You never want to, there are a lot of them that are gender specific and size specific. The women's is on one side, men's is on the other. I recommend just putting one slipper inside of its corresponding one and then just make sure at this point, do not set that aside. Go ahead and put that back on its organizer in those nice little compartments. Now we're going to fast forward to the end of the boots. Once that beeper goes off at the end of their heating cycle, you're going to go ahead and remove those wings. Again, there's no need to rush here, but you don't want to be wasting any time in getting those insoles into the boots and getting the boots onto the customer's foot. And it is important that the customer lace those boots up nice and tight, pretty much as tight as they ever would, to get the the proper mold securely on their foot. And they may notice the lace lock feature at the bottom of the laces is it does grip the lace, and so they may notice that it is a little difficult to pull right at first. So just make sure that you point that out to them. They'll notice that the laces do not release the way that they would on other footwear. So once you get a good fit, these boots will actually help you keep that proper fit. And again, it is important not to rush through this process. Make sure that they have seated their heel back into that heel cup properly. We are going to be molding these boots to their foot. If their foot's in the wrong place in the boot, there's going to be no sense in the process. Now, this is likely going to require assistance, especially if the customer has a large foot. Getting in and out of these bags can be a little bit difficult. Again, make sure to close those valves before you are going to inflate the bags. Get that neutral stance spacer in between the knees and bring that harness up and over. Again, make sure it's nice and secure. It will be under pressure in just a moment. Turn on your meter, set it to the proper 3-0 settings, and turn on the compressor. You're looking for 0.15 millibars of pressure. Here again, your customer is going to feel that pressure squeezing against their foot, but at this point they are protected by the body of the boot, and they're not likely to experience any discomfort if they made it through the insole process. Once you reach that proper 1.15 millibar, go ahead and just turn off the compressor, set your accessory timer for the 3 minutes. That is the molding process. At this point, you are essentially done with and there we've gone ahead and fast forwarded for you. Now you just want to release the pressure. Again, I recommend leaving the harness on when you first release that. Helps you get a little bit of the air out a little faster. Then go ahead, release that, set that spacer aside, and help your customers get their boots out of the bags. It is important at this point that you have them not jump up and run around to feel how nice these boots feel on their feet. You do want to give the boots a few more minutes to cool. If they want to keep them on their feet while they're sitting, that's fine, but I would very much recommend that they just go ahead and take those boots off and give them several minutes to cool. Maybe take them home in the box. They will notice that with these boots, these are nice, supportive, rigid footwear, and the break-in period is absolutely 0. That is what we have just done. We have broken these boots in for them better than any boot will ever break in. This is molded to the shape of their foot, and once those boots are cool, they can go out and adventure to their heart's content.